So of course the role of women in society has changed a lot now than it was 20 to 25 years ago, with the growing idea of feminism being very dominant in today's culture. As you see, every third woman, I believe, at least in our school, each girl is very concerned about the role that we as women or we as females get to play in a society, as compared to earlier when our dominance or our presence wasn't considered much as it is considered now. We also see a lot of women rising in different professions that we never saw them rise in before. And I think that itself is a big stepping stone towards, having a more equal society, which may be a little far-fetched at the moment, but if you compare it to the past, you can see the change, you can see the difference in terms of how women now play a role in society. And yes, I watched a lot of Disney princess movies while growing up. They were a huge part of my childhood. And I'd say my favorite one was probably Nutcracker because of ballet and Swan Lake. And actually, if you see it in a sequential way, almost all the Disney princesses basically fall in love with the prince, and then it's just a love story. And sometimes, in some cases, I feel they portray them as a damsel in distress, which doesn't really help our role as women. So after watching it, a kid may think, oh my god, look at that pretty dress, oh my god, I want to be a princess. But then I don't feel that Disney princesses actually portray the strong identity of a woman, or the sense of a woman who should, be dominant or not. So, in my opinion, I think Brave is one of the movies which has sort of broken the sequence of showing a damsel in distress or a, typical princess or a Barbie like we see in Disney movies. Because the character in Brave basically has a very powerful sense of, I'd say, dominance, a powerful sense of feminism, which can be quite clearly seen because her character is so strong. Her character is one that, stands up for herself and for the society. She's a fighter, she's brave, she's strong. And I think that's what women strive to be nowadays as compared to earlier when, the other Disney movies were more about princesses and being dainty and delicate. And this sort of
yes, I did watch Disney princess movies growing up. When I was little, the most popular ones were Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. Beauty and the Beast when I was a little older, but my favorite was Sleeping Beauty. I watched it over and over again when I was 2. And I think that, like any story that anyone hears, that creates the sort of framework for what you can become, for what you know exists out there as far as like identity. And will that work? Okay. And I think that what I saw from princesses did impact my adulthood. I would say even as far as my like adult life and relationships with like the prince. I always felt like there should be this knight in shining armor moment, which is really not, that empowers a man and not a woman. And I didn't think that through or think there was anything wrong with it, maybe, until I sort of went through some relationships where I felt like I had not personally been empowered because I was like a sleeping beauty instead of like an active working equal in a relationship. I think that the newer Disney movies are doing a good job of sending that message to girls early so that they don't idealize a sort of stagnant or like inactive woman early on.
Yes, I've been watching Disney movies since I was really little, and I think then the most popular would have been Cinderella, where even when her life becomes a lot better, she's just beautiful, like she doesn't have any power or anything. But I think as the Disney movies have progressed, and in 2015, Frozen and Brave have had princesses who are brave and they have power of their own, which shows the progress in women empowerment over the years.
So I did watch Disney princess movies growing up. I loved them. My favorite was Little Mermaid. And I kept watching them as I grew older. In fact, a lot of time in college was spent watching Disney princess movies because we didn't want to study. But I think getting like consistently watching them while I grew older definitely changed my perception of sort of how I wanted to see women being portrayed in films. And something that's actually really cool is that I have a friend of a friend, her mom wrote to Disney being like, Disney, your portrayal of women in your princess movies is terrible. Why would you do such a thing? And they actually wrote back to her and were like, well, if you were going to write a movie about women as a princess movie, how would you do it? And she actually became like a consultant who helped create Mulan, which is now my favorite Disney movie. So Little Mermaid was my favorite when I was little. Mulan is definitely my favorite now. And I think that sort of shows a huge shift between a woman whose voice is literally taken away from her and the only thing that she's riding on is her looks and the fact that she's super pretty, to a woman who goes out and does things and makes things happen. Mulan's not a perfect movie, but I think it shows that society and Disney has come a really long way, just in terms of trying to figure out how to portray women as just as strong, just as amazing and capable as they really are, instead of just sort of like people who sit around wearing pretty dresses. Not that there's anything wrong with pretty dresses. I love a good pretty dress, but you can do things in them.
Growing up, I watched a lot of Disney princess movies. I mean, I still do. And I think the first one I watched was Cinderella. And the ones after that pretty much had the same plot line, or like the same storyline, where a girl meets a prince and then she becomes a princess and stuff like that. I think this really affected like our views of women in society, as in like how they're supposed to act, how they're supposed to look, and how they're always portrayed in like a very helpless way, or like they're weak in some sense. I think the best Disney princess, like hands down, is Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I think it was the first movie that actually showed like not a princess or a girl in distress, because her father gets kidnapped or gets taken by the Beast, and then she goes and she rescues him. And I think Belle just like really set a good like role model image for me, because she wasn't just pretty, because she was like really smart and really independent, and I think she just showed girls that it's okay to be like a little weird or odd sometimes, and